more now on that fire in East London. Firefighters are at a 19-storey block in Poplar. Parts of the 8th, 9th and 10th floors are alight. There are 20 fire engines at the scene. These numbers coming from the London Fire Brigade. Yasmin is the chair of the Residents Association at New Providence Wharf. Yasmin, thanks for joining us. What can you tell us?
Just to tell you, at around about 9 o'clock this morning, I got a phone call from a friend, which was a missed call. I opened my phone. I saw videos of a fire in Block D. And then I got another phone call to say the fire is really serious. Everybody evacuate. I live in one of the cores. There are 5 cores, A to E. The fire was in Block D. Mine is Core A. So I got my husband out and knocked on every single door going down the flights of stairs, telling them to evacuate. Really bad fire. There was no nobody. We're supposed to have a waking watch that has been put in place. Not a sign of a waking watch coming to help us. And we evacuated as many people as we could. The fire is still ongoing. The fire brigade is here. They're trying to get it under control. And we've been trying to help people who are most affected. We've got them into a hotel at the side, doing teas and coffees, and that's the situation as it is.
I mean, it sounds absolutely terrifying.
It is. It's been terrifying. I was in a fire in Block A. It was terrifying then, and it's terrifying for the people that have just come through. Smoke all over from the fire was on the 8th floor. Smoke was all the way up to the 18th floor. So, my message to people is if there's a fire in your block, don't sit and wait. Get out. And
it's been on many people's minds since Grenfell, of course, the risks of fire. Is it something that you've been particularly concerned about living where you live? Is it high up in your mind?
We are a block which has got ACM Grenfell-like cladding. We have known about this from 2017. Our landlord's been aware of it. The government's been aware of it. Everybody's been aware of it. Our landlord has applied for the ACM funds and the building safety funds, and it's paperwork. This is a serious issue. 10 pushing, paperwork. This needs an immediate response. This is not something that should have been a pen-paper exercise, which it has become. The waking watch is a paper-pen exercise. Whoever's suffering from waking watch, it doesn't work. It doesn't work when there are 1,000 people living in a block. It cannot work.
Can you tell us how waking watch should work? It's not. I'm ashamed to say it's not actually a phrase I'm familiar with. What is it?
Waking watches, every 15 minutes, one person traipses up and down the corridor, right? And they're supposed to alert people if there is a fire. They're supposed to keep an eye out if there's a fire.
And who are they paid for? Is that a resident, or are they paid for? Is that a security type person?
The government has said that they will not pay for it. We as individuals, leaseholders, have to pay £47,000 for a month for this waking watch, which is completely ineffectual in a real fire. Completely ineffectual. I want the fire brigade to understand that. I want the government to understand that. It is ineffectual. If you do not involve residents in their own safety, having Tom, Dick and Harry walking up and down your corridors is a waste of money, waste of time. It's a tick-box exercise. There's no evidence that this works. No evidence at all. The biggest evidence, Hackett report says, involve the residents. The government thinks the residents are lemmings. The landlord thinks the residents are lemmings. We are not involved. Nobody's involving us. Nobody's involving the residents in their own safety. It's a disaster, and the disaster has happened here.
You just said between you pay £47,000 a month. It seems extraordinary sum of money. So, do you individually contribute to that?
as leaseholders, I won't go into leaseholder law.
No,
That's another
okay.
one that you'll get me ranting on.
Yeah.
But let's just put it to the fire. We're talking about fire safety across this country, right? Fire safety has to be part of a resident. People who live here, they have to be involved. There is very strong evidence that they need to be involved in the processes of what is put in place, and ticking a box exercise and putting waking watching and thinking, oh, you've done a good job.
But you pay for that. Just to be clear,
We pay for that.
Within
we
your
pay for it.
Yeah. Okay.
As part of our service charges, we pay for something that's completely ineffectual. The government knows it's ineffectual. The fire brigade knows it's ineffectual. It's a tick box exercise. Okay, there's a problem here. Let's just put a waking watch. Tick. Liability gone.
So how could it work better? I mean, I take your point about the residents being involved themselves, and you're only involved to the extent that you pay for the waking watch. But I mean, if I was in charge of the residents, then I don't know what an idea I could come up with other than somebody walking around every 15 minutes and checking things.
I'll tell you very simply what you would do, which is what we did with COVID. We had COVID volunteers because there are elderly in the flat who couldn't get out. We knew that our managing agent couldn't have enough staff because they had to furlough them. So we had COVID volunteers who volunteered and were contactable and did a duty rota for each block. So they would get their food for them, they would get their presents for them, anybody could access them. So you have volunteers for each block who is responsible, who understands fire safety. It's a bit like, first aiders. Simple. You train them and you work a rota through it. So if somebody's away, we are neighbours, we work together, and it's very simple. Not that difficult. Okay. What do you think I did? The fire was fire was not in my block. Yeah. I went knocking down every floor. Bang, 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 come out. People trust me. They know who I am. They'll come out because I tell them to. You think a waking watch, a 25-year-old girl with a mask on knocking on the door saying, come out, people are listening to them. They'll say, no, I'm going to carry on with my breakfast.
Okay, interesting. So stay with us, Yasmin. I just want to bring in Andrew Wood, councillor for Canary Wharf at Tower Hamlets Council. What would you say, Andrew, about what you've just heard?
So actually, interesting enough, about 3 weeks ago, Stephen McPartland MP actually came to the area quite close to New Providence Wharf, and we actually talked about this very issue. And he also didn't think that Waking Watch works at all. It's also extremely expensive. And he also suggested this idea that actually residents could do it certainly during daytime hours. And what he was talking about is during the daytime that residents take responsibility. They need some training. And then what you might then do is you might then hire some people to actually do the night times of early morning waking watch when people are normally asleep. And he thought that would be A, more effective, and B, actually a lot cheaper to do. And he reckoned that you probably save 75% of the costs and you get a better outcome.
So in this case here, we just had an update from the London Ambulance Service saying they have treated a number of people and remain at the scene where they're working with other emergency services. Have you got any information about how grave the situation is there, Andrew?
So we could see from the videos that the fire spread to 3 floors, and it was spreading, it appears, on the outside of the building upwards, just like Grenfell. We know people were from the outside shouting up at people inside to warn them of this. But the other very concerning issue is actually the smoke appears to have spread more widely inside the building than just 3 floors. And I've seen videos of people, with smoke in their corridors, and that's also very concerning as well. But I'm not aware of any serious injuries at this point in time. But I think we were lucky this happened, around 9 o'clock in the morning, decent weather. So most people were up and awake. If this had happened maybe in the middle of the night, it might have been a different situation.
Yasmin, how old is the block? Can you tell us a bit about it?
Yeah, the block is 2004, built in 2004. Other blocks here are built 2016, 17. Where it's a conurbation really of over 1,200 private dwellings and the social housing. We're a community. We're a strong community here.
Okay, so thank you both very much for coming on, and do keep us updated. That's Yasmin, chair of the Residents Association at New Providence Wharf. There's a number of blocks there, one of which a 19-storey structure in Poplar. In the parts of the 8th, 9th and 10th floors of it are alight. There are 12 fire engines at the scene. So, Yasmin, we wish you well. And Andrew Wood, local councillor for Canary Wharf on Tower Hamlets Council.